welcome to Yackez Life Talk. We're back.
It feels good to be back. Hello, audience.
It's been a long time. It's been 5 years almost. Our last podcast was released in June of 2020. So nearly 5 years to the day.
Wow.
Which wasn't even a planned break. It just kind of happened.
Yeah, I think for me, I have been leaning into my illness, disability, and just letting go of everything that feels extraneous. Mm-hmm. And I think the podcast was one of those things.
Well, a lot happened. We moved.
Mm-hmm.
June 2020. Is this chair so squeaky? You're just going to hear it the whole time.
You have to stay still on that chair.
I'm moving. June 2020, we were still living in Brooklyn. We're now in Middletown, New York, like 50 miles north of Manhattan.
That's right.
Seems like a world away. Getting into why we moved and everything. Maybe that could be its own episode. It's just a lot to unpack in that.
Yeah.
But anyway, basically we thought it would be a better life change for us and our cat and dog, who are still with us. They're very, very senior animals now. Mila is here on the floor next to us.
And she's 13. And our cat Ellington is about to turn 16 years old on 4/20.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They both did very well. They leave little traps for us. Ellington leaves little poo traps in the morning. And this morning, Mila left a little drool trap, a little drool pool, a little slobber slick in the kitchen.
And I fell.
You fell? Fell pretty hard.
I haven't fallen in a while. And I'm recovering from total shoulder replacement surgery. And I fell in the kitchen. And it was amazing because my body just figured out, do not use your arms to catch your fall. And one leg slipped out from under me. It was on her slobber slick. And I landed on my other knee.
Fortunately, you're okay.
It was great. It was
great.
Smart.
You would do it again?
No, it was a smart fall. And guess what I did? I immediately sat down and iced for 15 minutes on and off on the knee. And the knee's fine. Boom.
Well, first off, we've changed. We've rebranded. So Reset on the podcast used to be life advice, even though we never really gave advice at all.
No.
It's just kind of... So we're now Life Talk, because we just talk about life.
Mm-hmm.
Things that happen to us, things that we're going through. It's a general talk now.
And middle age, centering a lot around middle age wisdom, disability wisdom, illness wisdom, life wisdom.
Changes.
Life changes.
We moved up north. I grew my hair long, grew a beard. I wear more flannel now.
Yeah.
We have bird feeders in the yard. So, I mean, I guess this podcast is going to be a lot about the changes and things we're going through now. And I think there's been a lot of changes. I got a milk frother for my coffee, which is
amazing.
Huge.
Amazing.
Really big news.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we should just make the podcast talking about the milk frother.
Well, you know what? Let's do this.
It's battery operated.
Let's start to bring in some audience
it's
into
black.
this.
It matches our other appliances.
We're going to jump to our next segment, Papi Jon, okay? So it's Happy Birthday. Today, you might be celebrating a birthday. Someone you know might be celebrating a birthday. This might be your birthday month.
Or maybe you have a birthday sometime this year.
That's right. So this segment is for you, and I'm going to play for you.
Your grandmother's birthday is next month, and she'll be 95.
Correct. Here we go. There you go. Happy birthday. A gentle welcome to your birthday and your birthday year. Okay?
Okay.
We're generous. We've gotten generous in our middle age.
Yackez, Life Talk.
Yeah.
I'm John, Papi Jon.
Yeah, let me do a little description of myself. So, I'm Larissa. We also call me gooby. And how do I look a little different? My hair is a kind of a cute, sort of faux hockey, mullet curly, cute short haircut. I've got Versace clear glasses, lip gloss, wearing a lot of, it's kind of a toxic kind of yellow and black outfit today, wearing a lot of gold jewelry, thinking about my grandma. And actually John's wearing a pistachio green.
Pistachio, that's
yeah. We're both in this kind of spring, kind of toxic green.
I'm wearing this little fedora you bought me, which someone had just drawn a desert scene on.
Yes.
It's very nice.
That's right.
And we have matching glasses.
Yeah, you have Versace glasses too.
Yeah, you actually bought yours first, but then when I went to the same place, the ones I like the most just happen to be very similar to yours.
I think we look adorable. I think we're looking very cute in our middle age. And I have just recently lost 13.5 pounds. And that will be a future podcast episode about spiritual weight loss. Okay?
Okay.
So shall we get into the purpose of this episode? So today's episode is to reset, to reintroduce ourselves, and just kind of launch the rebrand of our podcast. And then the second is, so the second reason for this podcast, and in our previous podcast, our most listened to episode was called Illness Reveal. And a lot of people tuned in, and it created a lot of really strong community around me, some aspect of my cancer journey. And this podcast will be another health update, again, another illness reveal. And I think I just want to put out there for myself, for audience, for spirit, that my intention for this illness reveal is to consolidate the communication about it for my well-being. So this is it. This is the announcement. I'm not going to do multiple social posts and YouTube, other videos, and hoping that our conversation can be it, or at least the beginning of it, right? And then the other aspect too is it is time to gather community around us with this particular phase of, I'll reveal it right now, I guess, relapse, multiple myeloma relapse that is occurring. Being that John and I left our community of New York City and Brooklyn, we're a little more isolated. When the medical stuff gets more intense, we are even more so isolated. So, we're gathering the love around us, especially as I will be hospitalized for a short period at some point soon.
Yeah, I mean, we've been through this before, obviously, but we also been through this before while here. 2 years ago, 2023.
Yes.
You had a major relapse that required hospitalization for quite a long period.
It was a total of 61 days at 3 different hospitalization stints.
Which hopefully this one will not be as extensive.
Yeah.
And we're better prepared, I think, this time, in many ways, including mentally and spiritually.
Absolutely. That does remind me that another future podcast episode will be about caregiving and all about how some of these real trials and tribulations, I don't even think it tests our relationship. I think it just deepens and focuses and clarifies our relationship. Yeah. And I'd love to share about that.
Yeah, I think we're past the test.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But you had a complete shoulder replacement surgery.
Yes. Okay, so
which was related to myeloma, so maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
Yes. I just had shoulder replacement surgery. The relapse, one of the relapses that I had in 2022, completely deformed the upper humerus, which is the upper arm bone of my right dominant arm. And it took me a long time and a full year of remission, of which 2024 was like a grand remission year post CAR T cell therapy. And what that means, it's really special. It's really the future of cancer treatment, is that you're able to be in remission without taking cancer drugs. You are natural. Monthly, I did have to get IVIG. There's a certain immunoglobulin that the CAR T cell therapy leaves you very deficient in. And so, so I was deficient in that. So monthly, I would have to get IVIG. But even toward the last few months, I guess November, December, January, my IVIG levels were so good. I was able to wait six weeks in between IVIGs, and I was just about to start to wait 8 weeks between IVIGs. But in January, after a flu, actually, I caught the worst flu of my freaking life, I felt like. 2 days after my birthday on December 17th, I missed Christmas. It was a whole dark night of the soul, missing Christmas, New Year's, being really, really ill, and surprisingly, about 2 weeks later, I started feeling a pain in my sternum. And I also noticed that my blood labs had ticked upward ever so slightly, the cancer markers. And I revealed it to my doctors. My oncologist at Mount Sinai said, you know what, refer to your local oncologist, the one that was giving me the IVIG, the one up here in Hudson Valley. He took a look. He said, your labs are so good. There's no way you could have your multiple myeloma again. This is something related probably to your bum shoulder, and there's just no way. And you know what? I wanted to believe him. I thought, I've had this disease since 2019. Whenever I get random extreme bone pain, and even if my blood labs tick up ever so slightly, it usually means I relapse. Yeah. But I had faith. He said, I want you to not be so stressed, and maybe you're just sounding anxiety alarms. So, okay, I wasn't necessarily believed, but I knew I had to go through the process of, and he also ordered a bunch of labs. Like, he ordered me a diagnostic mammogram. He ordered me a chest CT scan to make sure it wasn't a clot. I mean, he did his due diligence. It showed nothing. So that was January. By February, next time I saw him, the numbers ticked upward again. And I mentioned it to everybody again. And at this point now, I'm about a month out from this surgery that was supposed to happen. The shoulder surgery that I had been waiting for, for 2 years. And just as universe, I feel like this is this whole other, whole spiritual quest that we're on, that we see, John, that things just sort of happen in miraculous, kind of very dramatic timing. The way it all unfolded was I knew I needed to get a couple more labs for them to actually, for it to prove what I had known deep within, which is that I was relapsing. And I deeply wanted to believe that I wasn't relapsing. But sure enough, a week, so my surgery was March 4th, and a week before surgery, it became very evident. The labs spiked upward to a degree that they were like, oh, you were right, you're relapsing. And at that point also, the pains in my sternum, which were kind of like soft, the sternum was soft. It was a little swollen, but it was soft, and it was almost like the pains were almost like kind of like a needle or something sharp would just, hit the bone. And it would happen on certain thoughts. It doesn't even have to be stressful thoughts, just thoughts of any kind. But by the time the week before surgery, it was starting to protrude. There was a lump. So with all those things, that was it. They finally believed me. All the things, were revealed. And then my biggest question was, oh my gosh, can I still have this surgery?
Which you've been waiting for basically 2 years.
2 years. Yeah, 2 years. And so essentially the night before surgery, I mean, this is what I mean by crazy timing. Here I am, surgery's supposed to happen. By the way, the surgeon for the shoulder surgery was Dr. Joseph Zuckerman at NYU Langone Rehabilitative Hospital for Joints. He had a Super Bowl commercial. He is a freaking rock star, and he's amazing, and he did an incredible job. And he and my oncologist, Dr. Rossi at Mount Sinai, spoke via cell phone the night before my surgery. And, that was when they could finally come together to speak. And she said what she needed, which is my patient can undergo surgery from my standpoint, but are you okay with my patient getting cancer treatment pretty shortly afterward, which would mean steroids? And I know steroids are kind of contraindicated when you have surgery.
Basically, they were talking to decide whether you should have cancer treatment right away or get the surgery and sneak it in first. And you had told your oncologist that you would prefer to sneak it in if possible.
I did.
And she was pushing for that.
Yeah, she heard the sound in my voice. She really listens. And when I explained, I'm strong enough, I believe that I can do this surgery, and if you all think it's safe for me, I can handle it, doing the surgery and cancer treatment. Because also what it means, if I didn't do that, I would get cancer treatment, and then I'd have to wait almost a whole other year for surgery. And, I kind of know how to take care of myself really well through all this. I'm like a pro. And I was like, I believe I can do this. And she believed me. And so they both agreed, yes. Yeah. So I am a month out from this surgery. That could be a whole other episode. It's such a journey. Wow. Shoulder replacement surgery is amazing. It is not for the faint of heart. It is serious. I kind of underestimated.
Yeah. Very painful. There's a lot of rehabbing.
Yeah, the rehab. It is, you earn. Every day I am earning the amount of movement I'm getting back in my arm. It is not given. It is freaking earned with hard work, toil, and pain. But the journey through pain has been really interesting because at first it was excruciating to move the arm. So it's like, you have to move the arm, but it's excruciating to do so. It just takes a few days, maybe a week, until all of a sudden the movement is actually pain relieving. You get to experience your body literally healing, which is just a trip for me. And I knew that would be really good for me mentally during this descent into cancer world again. I needed something that would bring me in direct contact with my body's healing capacity and feeling confident. And feeling strong. And that's part of also my spiritual weight loss is part of that too. Like, yes, I can. Yes, I can do this. Yes, my body's functioning. Yes, my body can be predictable in ways where the cancer makes it unpredictable, but there is also a predictability to my body too.
Yeah, but so during this whole rehabbing too, though, your lesion on your sternum is growing.
Oh my God, growing.
You were in talks to have another CAR T treatment therapy procedure.
I think it's called CAR T therapy, but it is a pretty deep procedure. It is a procedure.
Hospitalization. It's the new cutting edge way of treating multiple myeloma, which you had in 2023. There's a new one that you were signing up for, but it kept getting delayed, and they were maybe going to put you on a different treatment, which would require more visits to the hospital, more needles.
Yeah, weekly chemo check, pretty much.
You weren't too happy about that.
And they heard it in my voice. I nearly cried when they described to me. One, they said, it's just too dangerous with the sternum, with the lesion growing in your chest.
They didn't want to wait, basically.
They didn't want to wait, and they described to me what my other treatment option would be, which would bar me from the CAR T I was going to get because it targets the same exact antibody. And I literally, were you there in the room? Yeah. My voice was quivering. I literally was about to burst into tears. The treatment was like, basically the skin on my hands might fall off, the outer layer.
I think the biggest sticking point to you is that you could lose your sense of taste.
Oh my God. No, that it was. They were like, you could be totally distorted and altered in your sense of taste and or lose your sense of taste. And just literally with how I've come to such peace with eating and am in such freaking spiritual alignment with food right now, the thought of cancer treatment interrupting that devastated me.
Yeah.
And honestly, weekly chemo chair, it's a very different life.
Yeah.
After CAR T, you do not go to the chair anymore. You're like living. You're masked. Hello, you are masked, maybe for the rest of your life in public, but hey, I can deal with that. But you're not in a weekly chemo chair getting treatments that literally change your body around in ways that, make you, a stranger to yourself.
So your doctor compromised and said you have a full PET scan, and the results of that will determine if you need to be on this treatment, which you can get right away, or if it's possible to push it off the CAR T by getting radiation on the major lesion on your sternum.
Yes. Yeah.
So then you had the PET scan.
I had the PET scan. So yeah, that was the plan. It was, you know what? There's all this bureaucratic delay with this CAR T. Let's see if we can get you a PET scan to see how much disease you have, and then maybe we'll radiate you. Well, the PET scan results just came in last week, and they were pretty scary. Mm-hmm. The lesion is on the chest, encompasses bone of the sternum, encompasses soft tissue. You know what? Maybe here's a moment. I'm going to have a little boundary here. I'm not going to describe all the places that lesions showed up, because guess what? I don't want audiences' brains fixated on it. I think that brings energy, people's thought energy to it, and it's just for me to know. So let's just say it showed up in other places that I've never had lesions show up before, and it was a little intimidating.
But still, the end result was your oncologist thought that even though there was other lesion activity, those would be best addressed by having a big thorough treatment like CAR T.
Oh, yeah.
And so now the plan is radiation on the main lesion, the large lesion.
Yes, to hamper it down.
While taking steroids to keep the myeloma in check.
Yes.
And then eventually building up to CAR T. There'll be a bridge treatment before it, because it takes a process for the cells to be ready. And yeah, basically it's going to be a lot. These next couple of weeks are going to be a lot with radiations and pre-testing and then the build up. But then it's going to be a waiting period of bridge treatments. It probably won't be till mid to late June before the CAR T actually happens.
Yeah, before I'm actually hospitalized to get the CAR T cells back into my body. So what's really been interesting, and I think this is the reason I didn't share this with anyone. A lot of students, my lovely, and I miss you all so much, students, just my community of students and clients and close artistic colleagues, I didn't share, everybody knew about the shoulder surgery, but I haven't shared much about the cancer, because when you're a post-CAR T patient, you're not on cancer treatment. So that pretty much means you're not on medicine. So if you have cancer that's active and they know you're going into another CAR T, they can't dose you up with a lot of medicine. They actually have to extract CAR T cells from you first, and then they genetically modify them. So they're not going to want to extract your CAR T cells full of cancer drugs. Yeah. So I've been home dealing with all of this, dealing with the surgery and the recovery from surgery, knowing that cancer is growing, feeling literally this cancerous tumor on my chest growing, all while not being on medicine. And there's Mila. And it's enough to terrify you down to the core of your freaking bone marrow, this kind of stuff. And it's the reason that I rely so heavily on mindfulness and deep and daily and rigorous spiritual practice to keep my vibration up, to keep my core, spirit frequency really strong. And that could be a whole other episode. What were these tools? What are the things that I've been, called and summoned to do? Certain mantras have come to me this time around. Different mantras than were revealed to me in 2023, and ancestral support as well. And as well as an incredible community of goodness, incredible practitioners. I've been seeing Lily Gold 4 somatic experiencing sessions. Now I've been starting a really great PT with a Access PT up here in Hudson Valley. My therapist is Heidi Hernandez, who's from the Philippines, and she's really incredible. My core Pilates and PT mentors, Chris Bratton and Clarice Marshall, like scholarship with Michelle Boulet's life coaching, and Evaya Asantewa's seance and healing circle. I mean, these are touchstones where, combined with me working daily to fuse all these practices, these are keeping me sane while I've waited for these weeks without any treatment, not knowing what the heck's going to happen tomorrow.
And you're really doing well with it. I'd say one of the major issues is just like the lack of sleep. Like you sleep like an hour or two at a time. It's a lot of awake time, but
that was post surgery. That was since surgery.
But you're still and you're keeping busy in these wake hours. I think you were not sleeping much before, but then the steroids are really ramping it up. But
Yeah, it's a strange thing. Since surgery, I don't know if it's the level of shock, like the arm was so shocked, the body was so shocked, and you can't roll around, you literally have to be so careful with where you go and how you can't put weight into the whole half of your body, that I only sleep for at most an hour and a half at a time, 2 hours, and then I'm up for 2 hours, and then I fall asleep again. But I've been using that time. My step count has doubled. My stair climbing has doubled. I'm still dropping all this weight because of all this new energy expenditure. And I'm not dropping weight because of cancer. I want to stress that for anyone who sees me. I'm not on Ozempic. I'm not freaking losing weight because I'm sick. I'm losing weight because of full-on spiritual alignment, spiritual weight loss, and yes, bizarre amount of lack of sleep, which is keeping me on my feet, like walking around in the middle of the night.
Well, I think it's important to emphasize too that anyone that knows you and knows what you went through in 2023 or even during the first diagnosis is that you are in a better place now than you were last time CAR-T came around. You're better set up, you're physically better.
Yeah, physically stronger.
You had to go through a whole lot just to have that CAR-T. You had to have a whole 2 major procedures just to have the CAR-T. So thankfully, knock on wood, so far that's not the case.
No need to knock on wood, babe. No need to knock on wood.
That's the case this time. So
yeah, what's a cool thing. Oh wait, there's another big part of this whole thing. There is another huge part that I want to say. It just reminded me when I just said don't knock on wood, how much I think certain folks, maybe pessimistic people, might look at you and I and our story with this, like, what's wrong with these two? What the heck? Boy, these two must have some kind of really bad mojo. And I think there is a pessimistic way to look at what's happened to us. I think it's false. And I don't buy it one bit, because what I see is incredible divine timing always around the things that happen. And all of these quote unquote tragic things bring us way deeper to spirit and way deeper toward our life's purpose. A point that we didn't mention before was that, yes, they figured out I relapsed 1 week before surgery, right? 2 weeks before surgery, you were laid off from your job, and it was a job that you were considering leaving for a long time to pursue. Oh, so you could go ahead, talk a little bit.
I didn't like my job. I wanted to leave. There was big layoffs. I was laid off.
You were laid off 2 weeks before my surgery, and I knew in my heart of hearts, well, one, they just had to say I was relapsed, but I knew I was relapsed. I had this thing growing in my chest. You were laid off from your job 2 weeks before my surgery, and to me, it was the universe saying, John, write your memoir. John, here you are. Take care of Larissa. The slate, we are opening up the pathway for you two to go deep again. And it actually was affirming to me.
Well, it's fortunate in that, especially just the amount of, you can't drive because the shoulder surgery, you're not allowed to drive afterwards, obviously. And with these other things, it requires a lot for me being there. which I would have been able to do before.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But also, just on a personal level, the amount of stress that I was under needed to stop. Should have stopped probably a year before,
But guess what? The universe presents this opportunity, which, because of being laid off as opposed to quitting, which you had, you had your resignation letter. You had your resignation letter written, fully drafted. You're just ready to date and sign it. But the fact that you were laid off meant, that you could apply for unemployment, that you would get severance, that you would get vacation.
I hope that employer's not listening to this. Okay.
Why?
Because of the severance, but.
Hey, you got it. It's already deposited.
You can't take it back.
You can't take it back. No fear. To me, that's all I need. I look at how things occur and the timing of things. I'm paying close attention.
It did set up a nightmare scenario with getting on insurance again, but that's a whole other chapter.
It's a whole other thing, and guess what? We're pros at that too. It's very sad and unfortunate how in this country, the United States of America, what in the midst of medical crisis, one of the most stressful things is wondering how the heck you're going to get your care. It is a travesty. And just the idea that the support that we have might potentially be gutted by our fascist, oligarchic, just disgusting leadership right now. It's a whole other thing. And again, I try not to focus on any of that too long, because guess what? I really can't. I've got to keep my frequency and my vibration freaking strong and true. So we deal with what we can.
Which, you've been doing that in other ways too. You've been focusing on your ASMR project.
Yes.
Dr. Absurd Joy.
Exactly. And Dr. Absurd Joy was literally created while I was hospitalized in 2023. They were a figment of my imagination, kind of filling in the gaps of care that I felt like I needed from doctors and nurses, just deep, soft touch, bedside manner presence. And Dr. Absurd Joy has been going strong. I've got 3,000 subscribers and rising, and it is my performance practice right now. It's accessible to me. It answers a call a service that I want to create for people, while also serving myself.
So that's another way to check in with you during this time.
Indeed.
This episode is really just to give a recap, a reset, a reintroduction of ourselves. We're going to have other episodes that are, we've got themes worked out for them.
We do, and there's actually a very sweet, so on my website, Larissa Velez, it's larissa-velez-jackson.com. I'm going to post, we have a really cute description, a lovely description of our Yackez project that was shared in an interview that I did with the interior beauty salon, Nicolas Domit Estevez. Nicolas's name is so long, I don't have it memorized. Espejo. There's a lot of words in there. I'm sorry, Nicolas.
But it's on the website.
It's on the website. There's so many beautiful words. Read all
just
the
in
words.
His name.
Yes. And I'm posting that. It's an interview all about what's been going on with me. It's about Puerto Rico. It's about Yackez. It's about Dr. Absurd Joy. And on my website, I'll also share on April 16th, I'm teaching a workshop for Reimagine, which is an incredible organization that centers LGBTQIA, creative aging issues, grief initiatives, and essentially a lot of initiatives that really help folks through crisis, medical crisis, grief. And I'm giving a workshop in particular on illness as an opportunity for contacting yourself and your illness as a way into wellness. That's on April 16th, but you can find information on my website and on our socials as well.
Okay, great. Well, I think that does it for today, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Papi.
We'll have another episode probably before 5 years.
Yeah. Guess what? We're not going to tell you when, because that's just not how we roll. That's
we're not doing that.
You know, I don't use the word crip time too much, but crip time is the only time I use the word crip. And it's not part of my crip time. Just like schedule this out. So sorry.
Okay, so that's it for Yackez Talk. The first Yackez Talk. Life Talk.
Yeah, good job, baby. Thank you, everyone, and see you next time.
Catch you down the road.